The world has been taken by storm recently. So many different things going on, so many different avenues that we could be going. But our country, as well as other countries, are in the midst of a battle of good and evil. This week, we're talking about Iran. Stick around, because this is going to be interesting. Welcome back to another episode of Today's Truth. I'm your host, Graham. I'm joined by Dave today. We are so excited to be bringing this topic to you today, talking about Iran and the war that has been now ensued between the U.S. and Israel against Iran and the Middle Eastern regime there. And the biggest thing I want to kind of start this off with, Dave, is I want to just ask you a straightforward question of, when you saw all of this kick off, is this something that you are for or against? And kind of give us a reason why.
Well, I'm kind of conflicted. So part of me's for, part of me's against. The part that I'm against is because they claim they have weapons of mass destruction, and that could be true. And so that's a problem. But we've also heard this story before, and it turned out not to be true. So I think a lot of Americans, including myself, are skeptical. And of course, all this stuff is classified, so they can't really give us the information now, or maybe they never will. So that's where I'm kind of skeptical. But in the same time, like, Is it really our job to be the world police? And if the leadership over there does like torture people, and he's terrible to the population. So in a sense, I feel like as freer people, we should help people, but we can't nation build again. We can't be over there for 20 years. If we're going to get in there, and it seems like the strikes they've been doing I've watched some videos on them, like, they're next level. I mean, it's impressive stuff, the way they organize, like the first wave of the strikes. That was really, really cool, to be honest. Unfortunately, people die in this, but at the same time, from our perspective, with the military aspect, it was just super impressive seeing how they could just do this in such a quick amount of time. So I feel like I'm like most Americans. So I'm like just sitting back, taking it in, going, if this lasts a month or two, maybe we're cool. But if it gets boots on the ground, thousands of our soldiers dead, I think people are going to turn on it quick.
Oh, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, I look at it, personally, for me being former military, I look at it from a perspective of, number one, yes, those strikes that we've handed out and dished out to, the Ayatollah and all these supreme leaders, one after another, taking them out. It is impressive. It's not anything any other country could do the way that the United States has done this. But I don't think that this is a war that necessarily we should be in it as a regime change. What we're doing is we're softening the turf for the people of Iran to take force and eliminate. So what I think the United States should do from a military standpoint is kind of like we did in other countries, like with Iraq. We trained the Iraqi Defense Force on different things. We trained their military. Once we got to a certain point, we just trained their military. I think that's what we need to be doing, is training people to take ownership of the battle going on over there. But when you look at the history of things, for 47 years, the Ayatollah and the supreme leader has ruled with ruthlessness, killing their own citizens, murdering people in the streets. Iran, you could literally go out and murder someone in the street. It seemed like, it was almost legal for them to do. So when you look at that and how that regime really took control of their population, when you look back 47 years, Iran was a first world country. They were well within the same bounds technologically wise as, the United States, China, Great Britain. They were there. The Ayatollah took over the supreme leader, and everything changed. Look at the Sharia law, all of this stuff. It's a breeding ground for terrorist organizations in Iran because of the leadership that has been there. And I think that it is good that we have gone in and we have started to eliminate and destroy some of this leadership. But I also agree with you that we don't need to be in this as a long drawn out war. Once boots go on the ground, that is a full declaration of war. When it stops, I know we have some boots on the ground right now of special forces, but that's the thing. Special forces, they're all over the place, boots on the ground all over the world. Most people don't even know it.
Right.
But I agree with you. We don't need to be going into this as a long drawn out thing. We need to continue these strikes, eliminate the supreme leaders and all of that, open that door for the Iranian people to act for themselves and to take over their own country, and to have freedom again through that. We don't need to be the ones that do it for them, because when we do it for them, then there's this quid pro quo, hey, we helped you do this, so now you're going to do this for us. We don't need that. We need to say, hey, you guys step up. Let's create a strong alliance. That's where it needs to stop.
Yeah, I agree. More of a short-term thing. And I just don't know how willing, I would assume the people of Iran would want to go back. I don't know how westernized they were, or like when they were like a first world nation. I don't know. I've seen pictures. That's about it. So I don't know how well we can westernize anybody. And hopefully they have like a person in mind that they can start to raise up as a leader. And it's not just creating a vacuum, because we've seen what happens there.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's the waiting game. And that's the problem, is Americans are tired of waiting, and they want America first stuff, not every other nation first or Israel first or anything like that.
Here's the thing, though, that you can actually bring America first into this to a certain extent.
Right.
Being that Iran has been a breeding ground for terrorist organizations, right. ISIS, Al-Qaeda, all of that. Going in and taking out the guy who is basically funneling them money does significantly help America. But once we're done with that, that's where it needs to stop, like I said. The hard part is yes, we've been told for many years that Iran was working on weapons of mass destruction. We just had that strike a few months ago. Was it December or something like that, where we bombed the hell out of their nuclear weapons facility?
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, Trump did say we're all, we obliterated their nuclear facility. But then all of a sudden, within the last week and a half, there's been another potential saying, oh, well, they're about 2 more weeks away from having the potential of a new nuclear warhead. To me, it's kind of like they didn't have all the information first before they started making some statements. It's nothing against, our president. I think he's doing an amazing job. But sometimes we need to just take a step back and wait, not just boom, right out there, speak it and say, hey, this is what's going on, because it's not always 100% accurate. I think the American people would like to see more accuracy in the statements that are being said. I, for one, would like to see more accuracy, because like you and I, and like this whole podcast is based off of, is critical thinking. When something is factually stated and then recanted, critical thinking is the only thing that's going to get you by to find the right answer, because otherwise it's muddled. And then you're like, well, are we over there for this? Are we over there for that? We've got to take a step back. And I really hope that our leadership has seen that and says, hey, we need to just not give them breadcrumbs, but don't give them more than what we have the full explanation of.
Yeah, I had a crazy thought, and this is kind of old school thinking, but like back in the day when you'd go to war and you would conquer a kingdom, that would become your kingdom now, right? And you would expand. I think Rome did that, the greatest of all time. So if we're going to be helping all these nations and spending billions, should we have more influence on what they do? Like we don't necessarily take them over, but they essentially become an ally in some way, to where they can't go back to that junk anymore, and we can utilize them as assets and, in a sense, conquer. But you know what I'm saying? Not conquer.
So yeah, I see what you're saying. We're not conquering them as our own territory. We're conquering them in order to build a fresh, strong ally. And I believe that's what the Trump administration is trying to do right now, is they are trying to rid Iran of the egregious dictator that was slaughtering his people and that entire regime underneath him. But Trump has said it multiple times. I do believe him. I do trust that he's saying the truth in this, that it's not about regime change of the United States taking and deciding it. He's even said that, we tried to do that in Iraq and it was not the right decision. We tried to do that in Afghanistan. It wasn't the right decision. What the right decision is Trump's giving them the ability to fight back. He's taking out their military assets in a way that, Iran is running out of missiles. They are running out of ordnance, because every time they start firing stuff, Trump's team sees it and they obliterate it. Just a few numbers just to kind of give some perspective. Iran to date has fired more than 900 missiles across 13 different countries. So Iran is not just focusing, over to Israel, over to that. They're striking Dubai. They're striking all over the place, Saudi Arabia. And they've also launched 3,000 drones as well.
Yeah, I've heard
The
that.
first day of the conflict, on February 28th, Iran launched 400 ballistic missiles and hundreds of drones just in the first day, all across the Persian Gulf to all of its neighbors. Like, they were just firing blindly in a way.
Wow.
It was absolutely ridiculous.
Man.
They targeted U.S. interests, U.S. forces. Like, there's very few casualties, around 140 people wounded in the region of strikes as of March 17th. I don't have, going forward through today, but as of March 17th, 140 wounded and 13 U.S. service members killed.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you look at the operation size, the operational impact, they've destroyed hundreds of Iranian ballistic missiles and launchers.
Yeah.
Iran doesn't stand a chance, but Iran still wants to fight back because it is literally a fight of good versus evil.
Mm-hmm.
Islam was basically founded off of demonic entities.
Right.
You look at how Islam is written, and it was written that way. So, it's legitimately right now a fight of good versus evil. And unfortunately for evil, they're losing. And they're losing very, very, very publicly.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, because I think what we're seeing right now is just the beginning. What really needs to be figured out is how to make this to where it's going to be sustainable for decades, to where they can become like a first world nation again, and their people can be free, and they can dress the way they want and do what they want. And it's going to be pivotal to see how someone like a Donald Trump, a businessman, what his angle is, because we've seen this attempted before and it was a failure. I would like to see it done successfully. And now we have a blueprint if this ever happens again, which if there's people on the planet, there's going to be conflict. So it'll be very interesting to play out, and the history books will be written and hopefully it's good stuff.
Exactly. And here's the big thing too, is the U.S. needs to find a line that once they get to that line, is they say, okay, this is now where we withdraw. Because right now, if it continues the way that it is and continues getting more impactful, boots on the ground, all like that, we're going to end up in the same situation we were with Iraq, Afghanistan, 20 years drawn out, hundreds of thousands of American lives lost, millions of lives lost, with other countries as well. The U.S. needs to find a way to be able to pull out of this thing without it causing a bigger issue. We need to be able to pull out and say, okay, we're pulling away, but we're still here. Not, hey, we're out. Like Afghanistan, we lost so much in the Afghanistan war. It was a war that we should never have been there in the first place. We should have gone, bombed the hell out of them like we've done with Iran, gotten the heck out of Dodge. That's what we should have done. We had no business staying there. I don't want to see the Iran war turn into that. At some point, the U.S. is going to have to step back and just basically, in a way, support Israel to continue doing it. The IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, they have the ability to continue fighting this one once the U.S. is done bombarding and blowing to smithereens every bit of military ability that Iran has. Israel is able to take control from there. The U.S. needs to take a step back off, still be in support, but we don't need to be the front runner. We don't need to be the front line in this war.
Yeah, I like Israel taking the lead on like the rebuilding, I guess you could call it, because to me it seems like in order to get order back into situation and then get a leader that could be elected or however they want to do it, and then get him comfortable or her and get like a military to where they can defend themselves, that seems like years to me.
Oh, it's gonna be Israel decades.
So that's where Americans are nervous right now, is they see decades again and trillions of dollars or whatever, and we still have potholes in our streets. So it's a fine line Trump's got to walk, and if I believe he can do it because he's a smart guy, he's been around the block several times, built multiple big businesses, and I'm interested to see his perspective and how he does it. But I think everyone has the same intrigue and worries about this situation.
And I completely agree with you. There's all that worry. Like I work in the public sector, so I talk to a lot of people. And I hear conversations going on all the time about, well, we shouldn't even be there, or we should be there, but we got to find a way not to turn into something else. looking at what has happened over the last 20, 30 years with different wars against terror, we haven't had a leadership in the White House that was willing to say, okay, we're done, pull out, because they were worried about the ramifications. Trump is at the point where he's, number one, he's leading with power, and it's not in a way that's overbearing his power. He is showing other countries the U.S. is not to be trifled with, to an extent with Iran, that if you look at China hasn't been moving on the U.S. even though they said, if you move on Iran, we're going to strike too. The precision that the U.S. went with, China's not even going. Russia is not even going for it. The only other organization that is going towards the U.S. and joining this fight is Hamas. But Hamas has been in this battle with Israel for, at least the last 30, 40 years as well.
Yeah.
And they are greatly funded by Iran. So obviously they're going to follow the people that are funding them. It's just, when you look at this, it is the leadership and, in a way, a fear tactic through power and display of power. Something that no president in probably at least 100 years has done effectively.
Right. That's so true. And other things to consider about this is there's talk that there's sleeper cells of terrorists in the United States that have been told they can start striking. And we've seen a couple shootings and things of that nature. So that's another thing, like we always talk about, like just in general, keep your head on a swivel, make sure you're prepared, make sure you can protect yourself. And now even more, like, again, not everybody's a prepper, but like maybe buy a little bit of extra food, have extra water. I've heard some people that I work with talk about, he got a call from a military buddy saying, water, you need water. So start to think 2 to 3 months of supplies just in case. And fuel prices are going to go up, so prepare for that. We're keeping all our cars at half or more full of gas. Just things like that, to where you're in a better position if things do get tough or weird things happen. Now, we pray and believe it does not happen. And if it is, hopefully it's just minimal one-off type situations and law enforcement can handle it. But at the end of the day, it's my job to take care of my family. No military or government's going to come quick enough to protect me in any type of situation. So all men need to take that responsibility to say, it's my job. I'm the last line of defense and the first line of defense, and take that responsibility, not even in hard times, but even in good times.
Exactly. And that's a great point for our viewers and our listeners right now is be prepared, but don't freak out.
Yeah.
There's a fine line between the two. You can be prepared for something, but not freak out about it. Once you start freaking out about it, number one, you're not giving God the credit of knowing that God isn't going to let anything happen to you that has not already been seen.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you can sit there and go, oh, well, I don't need to prepare. God knows what's happening. No, it is still our responsibility to maintain and take care of our families, to protect and serve our families. As well, be vigilant in your community. It doesn't mean that, you see something, you're going to call ICE or you're going to call the FBI. No, what it means is be vigilant to maintain and to be able to say, hey, I see this is going to be happening, or, FBI's warned about this. Keep your eyes open. If you see something like, let's say you see 20 Islamic guys going into a random dark alley, dark building in the middle of the night, you should probably say something. You should probably call someone.
Yeah.
But if it's just somebody from Middle East descent that's buying milk at the grocery store, you don't have to call anyone. Be mindful, but don't be overboard.
That's another problem too that you bring up there. If sleeper cells do start waking up across the country, and then just the average person sees someone that looks Middle Eastern, they're going to start to go, oh, is that the enemy? Is that a potential threat? And that's a problem.
Exactly.
And that gets into guerrilla warfare and stuff, and we don't want that. So a solution to some of that is, like Graham said, get involved in your community. Start talking with your neighbors. Start walking around the block. And when you see someone outside, say hello, and just get to know what's around you, because there could be red flags in your neighborhood. But even better, there could be new friendships or relationships you build with people. That way you can get that community and people can start to trust each other and work together if needed.
And here's the thing, as believers as well, if you're surveying your neighborhood and you're being involved in your community and you are putting effort in, what's to say that someone from one of those sleeper cells that was planning to make a strike had buddies that they're all going in to make a strike? What's not to say that you being out there and being in that community, in your community, that the light that you have as a believer could change what they see and what they do. Maybe your light, your seed is going to bring them to Christ and is going to deter and keep that terrorist attack from happening. Maybe that's one guy is going to turn to God and say, hey, yeah, this is wrong. And he's going to turn all of his buddies in. You don't know what that is. God is capable of everything and anything, but we have to be willing to be the vessels. And in this type of a situation, that is 100% incredibly plausible that could be a situation. That you might be able to witness to somebody that is a jihadist, that you don't know they're a jihadist. You're just being out in the community, serving God the way that you know how to. And that might change something. That might dictate a chain of events that could save hundreds, if not thousands, of American citizens.
That's such a great point. Such a huge point right there, because I've heard multiple stories of like jihadist guys that were terrorists that God revealed himself to them. And they changed and they became Christians and they changed their ways. And now they write books about it and talk about it. So
I want to point one of them out and send people to his page. You can find him on YouTube and Facebook, is Mohammed Faridi. Mohammed Faridi was a jihadist terrorist, trained and everything. He had an encounter with God. And now he is a warrior for Christ in a way that when you listen to his story, you listen to his encounter with God and how everything changed, as well as the lives of so many Islamists, I think is how you say it. He has his show where he talks about it. He has people that are former Islamists on his show, and it is absolutely ridiculous. I'm really trying to get him to be a guest on our podcast so we can kind of get a firsthand thing. He is from Iran. He is so happy that this is happening. Now, he hasn't heard from his family in quite a few days. So I do want to encourage viewers and listeners to pray for the people of Iran. You know, the innocent civilians that are in harm's way, not necessarily from the strikes from the United States and Israel, but from their own regime. You know, Mohammed Faridi, I respect the man incredibly. I see his heart, and I know that he hasn't heard from people over there for quite some time, more than 2 weeks. So just be praying for those people. Pray that God's hand is upon them, of those innocent civilians, and that what's going on now gives them the ability to be able to say, hey, I believe in Christ now. Because in Iran, with the supreme leader, if they said that they believed in God, they became a martyr. He would kill them. You could be killed on the spot in Iran for believing in the Bible and believing in Jesus. So just be praying for those people. But yeah, I mean, there is so many people, you can look them up online, that have had an encounter with God that were terrorists, Islamists, all of that, and then just the change. So it's just big that we could be that change here in the United States for potential terrorist cells, and we have to be looking out to that. Doesn't mean go out on the dark web, find a terrorist cell, infiltrate it, to trying to claim you're Islamist and then preach the gospel. You most likely aren't going to make it out of that one alive. Just going to tell you that right now. I know the Bible says go and take the gospel to all nations. Sometimes you still have to be a little bit tactful so that you don't get eliminated in the process. So don't go out and find the terrorist cells, but be in your community. Do it that way.
Yeah, it could just be a chance encounter. Because in the Bible, I know that God would tell the disciples here and there, hey, go to this town, or don't go to this town, reroute to this town because of a potential danger. So.
Yep, you've got to be in tune to what the Holy Spirit is telling you. If you're going to go out and do street evangelism, you pray before that. Ask God to point somebody out that you can not only change their life, but you could change the life of everyone around them. And see how well that works. See how God works through you with that. But I mean, back to the topic with the war, Dave, is there anything that you see right now that's already changed that's a positive thing for Iran? Both either through headlines or even from seeing people post about it online.
I feel like I'm not seeing a lot of positive about this war. but just looking at how a terrorist dictator is gone and a lot of his leadership is gone, and the people over there are actually celebrating, and some of them even waving our flag.
Mm-hmm.
So there's hope there for them.
Yep.
And at this, we just can't let them down in a sense. And in my mind, I'm not going to pass a bunch of judgment on this situation right now until I see how it plays out, because this could be an opportunity for America to really shine again, where we go in, we do a job, we do it right, and the world ends up better. So that's what I'm hoping for, you know? So
and that comes down to where, you know, how is the United States going to pull back from this and not make it a large scale drawn out encounter? Because I guarantee you, if we start putting thousands of troops on the ground, Iran is going to have an ally step in. If that's China sending them money or sending them missiles, anything like that, at that point, they're going to step in. The U.S., like we said already in this episode, has to find out where to pull out. That's where this whole line is going to be drawn. Yeah. I'm waiting for the same thing. As much as I love our administration, I just don't want them to sit there and go, hey, you know, we just did this again. We're going to be in control now. But if you look at Venezuela, we liberated Venezuela. We're not involved.
Right.
We let their stuff take over. They're doing their own thing. We just got our guy and got out.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see happen here with Iran.
Yeah, I would like that too.
And it's not that we're not supporting Israel. It's that we're giving the people here what they want. America first. We eliminate the terroristic threat. And then, we're going to support Israel. That is something that Trump has said plain as day, and I support it 100%. Let's support Israel. But it doesn't mean that we need to be the front runner. We should be the one saying, okay, what do you need? How can we help? Not, hey, you want this done? Hop on our back. We'll give you a piggyback ride through it. That's not how it is. We should be on the coattails of Israel, not Israel on the coattails of the U.S.
I totally agree.
So, but you know, as we wrap up this episode, I just want the viewers and our listeners to understand that, number one, this war is at a point right now that even critically thinking, I can't go one way or another. And I want people to know that is, you know, Dave and I and Ash, we all think through everything very critically when it comes to this stuff. We do a lot of research. We do a lot of listening, a lot less talking than we do listening. And I want you guys to know that once we have something, we'll share it with you guys of how we feel one way or another as more information comes out. But right now it is at a pivotal point. I want you guys to remember to protect your families, protect your communities, be prepared. Yes, sleeper cells are in the United States. We've known that for decades, since back when we first went in to Afghanistan and Iraq. The first time, you know, Operation Iraqi Freedom, then Operation Enduring Freedom. Through Iraq and Afghanistan. We've known that they're sleeper cells. It has been well documented. So we know they're here. It doesn't necessarily mean that they are for sure going to strike.
True.
Number one, with the power that Trump shows right now and the strength that he shows with the military and law enforcement, they're having to second guess if they truly want to do these types of attacks.
Right.
But we still need to be prepared. So I encourage every single one of you that's watching or listening, be prepared, but don't freak out. Don't go to the overboard extent that you're be creating a problem.
Right.
Be the solution to a potential problem that could arise.
Well said.
And with that, Dave, do you have any final thoughts for our listeners before we wrap up for today's episode?
Actually, I just second what you said. Like, be sober, be vigilant, keep your head on a swivel, pray for the best, and let's have a little patience and see what happens, because it looks like a bad situation, but that can be turned into a good situation. And let's hope and pray for that. So
absolutely. So with that, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Today's Truth Podcast. We absolutely love that you guys are taking the time out of your day, whether it's busy, hectic, slow, or whatnot. We appreciate you guys coming out and taking a look at us and listening. But we would really like to hear from you. So if you guys could take a moment, drop a comment below on this video. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, and if you're watching on Spotify, send us a message. We would love to hear from you. If there's a topic that you want us to cover, that you want to know our thoughts on, please let us know. We would more than happily tackle those topics for you and let you know what our thoughts are as well. I just want to let anybody know if you have something that you want to talk about. You have an idea on your heart. God has laid something on your heart to speak about, but you don't know how to start a podcast or how to do anything. I would encourage you guys to look into Riverside FM. Here at Today's Truth Podcast, we use Riverside FM for every single one of our episodes, video, audio, everything. And it is a great package. It is a great pricing plans, and it's going to help you to create your own podcast to talk about whatever you want to. Video games, fashion, politics, faith-based stuff, everything under the sun you can do right here on Riverside FM. So if you ever want to do that and don't know how to get started, number one, check out Riverside FM. Number two, send us a message. I would be more than happy to sit down with you in a message thread, help you to follow your dream as a podcaster as well. And with that, Dave and I wish you guys an amazing rest of your day. We'll be praying for this country, for our leadership, and for everybody involved. And with that, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Today's Truth.